Hi everyone, my name is Diana Muñoz. I am going to talk about the Teusacá watershed that is located in Colombia and about the changes that it has been through the past 30 years and the opportunities for sustainability. The Teusacá watershed is located at the eastern mountain range of Los Andes at a height between 2,500 and 3,600 meters above the sea level. It goes through 5 municipalities: Choachí, La Calera, Sopó, Huasca, and Tocancipá. It feeds into the Bogotá River basin, the most important river on this region. The Teusacá watershed is surrounded by 3 forest reserves, and it is close to the Chingaza National Natural Park, a moorland ecosystem on which it depends the water supply of 13 municipalities and of the city of Bogotá. Approximately 13 million people live here. The Teusacá Basin area is located on various geological formations of sedimentary region, rich in sandstones, clays, and limestones, known as the Chipaque Limestone Formation. The Teusacá River Basin provides ecosystem services such as food, including milk, meat, potatoes, corn, peas, among others. Also provides building material and mining as cement. Provides infrastructure for water supply due to the ecosystems related to the area of influence of the Chingaza moorland. Also, the watershed provides public space, recreation, and ecotourism services. This map shows the strategic ecosystems of the Teusacá watershed, including the moorland ecosystem located at the Chingaza National Natural Park, and the forest reserves which sustain the capacities of the soils and water resources of the basin. This water abundance of soil biodiversity of the watershed is currently facing a progressive decrease in quality and access given the conditions of pressure in the use and pollution derived from the urban expansion processes and socioeconomic activities due to its proximity to the city of Bogotá. Indeed, during the last 3 decades, various activities such as the expansion of the agricultural frontier, mining activities to extract cement for the city, cattle raising, the building of infrastructure for water storage, the building of country houses and industries over rural areas, and the construction of a highway aimed to connect 3 regions of Colombia are activities that have caused the transformation of the uses and land cover over the basin. In fact, they have triggered an impact on the capacity and function of soils, water resources, and ecosystem services. The urban area has increased in about 20%, and deforestation has increased 5% annually. 3 main aspects have triggered this change in the watershed. First, economical aspects due to the considerable increase in commercial, industrial, and mining activities. Second, cultural issues due to the transformation in the preference of some inhabitants of Bogotá, which motivated to search for housing in peri-urban areas. Third, political aspects such as the rise of local programs and policy for territorial management and planning that have not been effective to prevent and control the effects of these activities on territorial sustainability, and on the contrary, have been focused on construction license granting and increase of urban expansion areas. As you can see in this graphic, during the last 20 years, since the adoption of the first land use planning instruments, there has been an exponential increase on construction license granting. While in the 90s, between 80 and 100 licenses were granted annually, by the 2000, from the land planning instrument adoption, almost 600 licenses were awarded. As this map shows, land use plans have granted construction licenses in strategic ecosystems areas. As a consequence, soils that once were used for agricultural and livestock activities are now used for constructions and industries. This chart shows the analysis of factors' power and influence. This chart indicates that at the state level, the government of Bogotá and the National Infrastructure Agency have been the actors with the greatest capacity to influence long-term decisions promoting the watershed transformation. At the local level, economic actors such as large real estate agents, large ranchers, and industrialists, in coalition with the municipal authorities and the regional environmental authority, have exerted great influence on the urban expansion on strategic areas. Among the invisible actors are mainly the village aqueducts, peasants, and non-governmental organizations in defense of strategic ecosystems. Regarding the effects of the changes in land use in the Teusacá River basin, the following can be listed. First, the alteration of the structure and coverage of the vegetation, which has generated greater runoff. Second, the alteration of the physicochemical properties of the soil, such as infiltration rate and depth, as well as its ability to storage water. This implies a decrease in the capacity of the soil to retain and regulate the flow of the water and to provide the service to all the inhabitants of the basin. Third, the clearing of the forest that has caused an increase in the rate of deforestation in the last 20 years has affected the functions of the basin by increasing the rapid flow and transport of water to rivers, which can generate flood phenomena in sectors of the basin. In the business-as-usual scenario, the Teusacá River basin will be characterized by an extensive urban occupation in rural and environmentally strategic areas. Indeed, even though the planning instruments define some areas of special ecosystem importance associated with the protection and provision of water, they do not recognize other key areas that have been identified by the communities of the basin. Therefore, there is an incomplete consolidation of the supporting ecological structure, which prevents the connectivity of ecosystems. In addition, in this scenario, the area of urban expansion, continuous and dispersed, is expanded in accordance with the provisions of planning instruments of each municipality so far. With this trend, in 20 years, most of the land will have been transformed from rural to urban. Strategic ecosystems will be urbanized, and urban expansion will generate the loss of agroecological capacities of soil, productive and ecosystemic. Likewise, the constant cutting down of forest for livestock in the last 20 years will continue to increase. This deforestation rate will lead to the rise of floods probability due to the increase of the maximum or peak flows of runoff water. The future conservation scenario, it might be called co-governance for conservation. This scenario has a continuous urban area consolidated with rural spaces of co-governance for conservation, based on three types of spatial aggregations connected environmentally: the peri-urban area, the continuous consolidated urban nuclei without expansion of the urban area, and a rural area that allows territorial and ecological balance. Also, this scenario prioritizes the long-term vision of ecological health through the preservation of strategic ecosystems defined from the national and regional level, and the reforestation, protection, or conservation of ecosystems according to the knowledge of the communities and their needs. Finally, this scenario seeks the protection of important ecosystems, intake areas, and water resources associated with rural aqueducts, for example, that for the provision of ecosystem services of provision and regulation related to water and soil. One of the key aspects to achieve the conservation scenario is the political willingness to assure that actual participation of the traditionally invisible actors such as the peasants and environmentalists. Politicians should listen to the community, and private constructors and industrialists should carry out their activities considering their possible impacts on the ecosystems. Also, the state should regulate and punish when those actors do not accomplish the environmental regulation. What we can actually do. I consider that we have to involve communities in environmental decisions. Also, we have to be able to demonstrate the benefits it provides to people and incorporate them into decision-making processes and actions related to ecosystem and water use. Recognize that human beings and their cultural diversity are an integral component in the management of ecosystems. And finally, understand and spread the multiple effects of any change in management on policy on natural systems. Thank you very much for listening.